Hello there, this is XC, and I am posting this brief video as an entry for a contest by snowie44. I'm very excited. She makes some really wonderful things and she's a great crafter, so I am happy to get involved and excited that I am qualified to. Qualified? Sure. Unqualified. Okay, well, I know because of my learning. Okay, so with that in mind, um, her contest, in order to enter, she asked for 3 questions to be answered. They are who and or what inspired you to craft, what was the first craft you ever did, and who taught you your first craft. This is going to be kind of hard for me to answer just because I've always been, I guess, a kind of crafty kid, not necessarily always doing traditionally crafty things. I certainly didn't always knit, I didn't always sew, I didn't always whatever, but I've always been interested in art. Um, so I guess as I was thinking about this contest, I thought back, and I think what inspired me to craft and has probably had one of the most lasting impacts on me was one of 2 people, and I guess I'll maybe share those both if I have time. I think it was like my 9th or 10th birthday. It could have been earlier. I have a really bad concept of time. I received for my birthday that year a bag of fabric from a friend of the family who is a seamstress. She is still today. Um, and she knew that I enjoyed, working with my hands, and that I think I had dabbled in trying to sew things just because it suited my fancy. And so she coordinated with my mom and got me just a bunch of, I think it was just scraps from her sewing room, but some more bigger scraps, and it was easily the best present ever because certainly those of you with small children probably know that kids will love empty boxes more than they'll play with the $50 toy you buy them. So my bag of scraps is probably my favorite gift that year. And I remember, like, the second I got it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a dress. And by make a dress, I don't even know. It was shameful. I'm not sure what happened with that, but it was a big piece of purple fabric, and I think I pinned it on myself, and I may have stitched. I probably didn't. Um, but I was really interested in costuming and making things with fabric from that point on. And that same woman actually was the one who gave me an outlet to actually become involved in real costuming. A couple years later, she thought of me. She is a seamstress, and she does, certainly she does things like curtains and takes freelance commissions, but she's always worked as a seamstress for theater, local theater, and I think she's worked in other states as well. And one summer she was doing summer stock and invited me to volunteer. And I think for the next 3 or 4 summers, I ended up working at that theater. And I learned most of what is kind of still carrying me through today in my costuming. And certainly I started off small, doing buttons and ironing things. But by the last summer, I was actually making dresses, and it was very exciting. So I guess I have her to thank for a lot of that, and that kind of also answers what was the first craft I ever did. I made a dress. It was not. I don't know. It was horrifying. Um, I feel like I should also mention though my apparently my dad and I think I get my craft genes from my dad, which is really funny, and I feel like most girls are supposed to learn their crafting from their mothers. My mother is immensely crafty. She's an elementary school teacher, and she has the best ideas for decorating her classroom, and she does all sorts of awesome things. It's just funny because my dad, when I was interested in knitting for the first time a couple of years ago, I got a book as a present that's like how to knit, and I got some knitting needles and yarn. But he's the one that actually sat me down and taught me how to cast on and how to do a simple garter stitch. And then recently I've taken up cross stitching, and while we were up north visiting family, I was sitting on the porch of my aunt's house, but my dad was sitting next to me, and he said, I think you must have gotten something from me because I did cross stitch when I was younger. And I just laughed because he can honestly do anything, and he will. Okay, and so then, and I guess it also answers who and taught you your first craft. Um, so uh, maybe I've answered all 3 questions. I guess I could go back to number 1 and say what inspired me to craft. I've always loved theater, so I think what inspired me to craft was probably the gorgeous costumes that I saw in all the plays that I went to go see. In middle school, I saw my first, well, no, I saw my first Broadway play when I was 6, I believe, 6 or 7. It was Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. And I love theater. And then in middle school, I went to go see Jekyll and Hyde on Broadway, and it was done. That's kind of was the foundation stone for which the rest of my life is built upon. But that's a story for another time. We're not going to go there. So I think theater probably inspired me to do a lot of my crafting, and obviously other things since then have inspired me. Harry Potter, Doctor Who, um, the books that I read have always made me want to translate the words on the page to material things. So yeah, hopefully I've answered all three questions. Thank you, Snowy44, for putting this contest out there into the world. And yeah, good luck everybody else who enters. Later.